Abortion access in another state is also in jeopardy. There will effectively be no legal abortion in Missouri starting this weekend if the state's only abortion clinic closes. Planned Parenthood says the Missouri Health Department is threatening not to renew the license for its St. Louis facility. That license expires on Friday.
And this comes just days after Missouri Governor Mike Parson signed a bill into law banning abortion after 8 weeks of pregnancy, with no exceptions for rape or incest. 6 states, including Missouri, have only one abortion clinic. If the license is not renewed, Missouri would become the first state without any options for legal abortion since the Roe v. Wade decision in 1973. So CBS News digital reporter Kate Smith broke the story and is joining us today. So, Kate, Planned Parenthood is not taking this sitting down. No. They are suing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're going to be in court today at around 1 o'clock Central Time, and they're going to be arguing to a judge for a temporary injunction to say that, we are protected under Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, that women in our state don't have to have an undue burden put on them in order to receive legal reproductive health care in the state. It'll hinge on undue burden.
So I talked to Dr. Wen, who's the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, when she was here on CBS this morning, and I asked her, what are these TRAP regulations that are being enacted in Missouri? Because I wanted to understand a little bit more about what they are. And in your piece yesterday, you talked to a woman who was told that she had to wait 72 hours before she could have this procedure. Just explain to our audience what those regulations are that stifle and ultimately strangle these clinics that provide these abortions.
Sure, and I think what's so fascinating is that potentially the first state that will be without legal abortion will not be because of these abortion bans that we've been seeing in Alabama today, potentially in Louisiana. It's going to be because of these TRAP laws, right? And so how they work is essentially state lawmakers propose rules that the state health officials can then levy on clinics around the state. So it's all sorts of different things, but they generally fall into 3 buckets. So it'll be physical requirements of the facility, physician requirements, and patient requirements. That 72-hour rule, that's a patient requirement. But some of the more ridiculous ones come in for the physical requirements. So for example, you have to have a 6-foot wide hallway or a 44-inch doorway. Now, if you already have a clinic that just doesn't have those things, you can't stay in business.
What's the idea behind having a 44-inch doorway?
So it's a long story, but basically the idea was that if you want to provide abortions in a clinic, you have to be held to all of the same requirements that an ambulatory surgical care center would. So essentially, you have to hold yourself to the same standards as an ER,
right?
Which they're not really doing the same things, which is why a lot of people say that these are arbitrary and really meant just to shut down abortion care in states.
I'm sure incredibly expensive because you're putting together a facility that is sort of at a very high level, unnecessarily high level. So the CEO of Planned Parenthood said that the doctors working at this facility saw this coming, a mile away. So what have lawmakers in Missouri been doing to indicate that this was sort of their end game?
Sure. I mean, Missouri is considered the inventor of the TRAP law. They've been doing this since the 1980s. And other states have really modeled their own TRAP laws off of the ones that have been successful in the courts in Missouri. So they've been seeing this coming for a very long time. And basically what they're saying is, you've shut down all of the other clinics in the state using these. And even though potentially with those laws that you've enacted, you could close this one down, you just can't close down the last one. And I would love to note that Louisiana was actually in a very similar situation in 2014. And a judge in that case found that it is an undue burden to not have a clinic in a state. So there is a little bit of precedent that, Missouri might find.
Because I was thinking about undue burden and how you sort of argue that, because I could see the counter argument being, well, I mean, this isn't a necessary surgery per se or whatever, Just out of curiosity, you might not know this, but, we see the image of the Planned Parenthood clinic. Is that entire clinic going to be closed down, or just the portion where, they are conducting abortions? Because I know Planned Parenthood does a lot of other stuff in regards to women's health.
It's not just abortions.
Yeah,
people may think that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So they do a lot of things besides abortions. They do reproductive care, STD training, STD screening.
Right.
And so the clinic will remain open, but they'll lose their license to provide abortions. So abortion clinics generally have to have those entities very separate because federal
the
funds,
funding is different.
Exactly.
Yes.
So those are separate, and so only the entity that provides abortions would be shut down. So if you have a pregnancy checkup on Saturday at the St. Louis Planned Parenthood, you're completely fine. It's only the abortion care that would be in jeopardy.
Kate, your reporting has been referenced in a lot of other news organizations on a lot of different networks. Really great job. Thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.